Hi, I'm Ruby Lopez, and welcome to tonight's webcast from the Intel Retail Edge program. We've got a great show planned for you. We'll be presenting everything you need to know about the new and exciting Ultrabook devices. Now, first, we'll hear from Intel's Mike Lavico as he explains all the features and benefits of Ultrabooks and Intel's vision for the future. Next, we'll hear from Bill Monroe of Toshiba as he presents Toshiba's new Ultrabook. Now, you'll have the opportunity to submit your questions to both Mike and Bill live in real time. Exciting, right? Live TV. Now we added 4 live drawings to tonight's webcast. And that's right, so just stay tuned throughout our show and you'll have a chance to win a Toshiba Ultrabook. Pretty cool, right? Now, at each live drawing, we'll be giving away one Toshiba Portage Z835 Ultrabook device and 500 chips. Now, Toshiba Portage Z835 Ultrabook is one of the first models to hit the shelves and offers the Intel Core i3-2367M processor, the mobile Intel HM65 Express chipset, and mobile Intel HD graphics. Crazy good prizes, so stick with us, you guys. Now, to win, you must be present at your keyboard, so make sure to stay with us. Now, I'll make an announcement later in the show when it's time for our first drawing and chip earning opportunity. So 4 times throughout the broadcast, the Claim Your Chips link will appear. Now, each time you click on it, you'll earn 500 chips and you'll be automatically entered into the drawing. Now, you can earn a total of 2,000 chips if you stay with us to the end of the event, so stick around, okay? Now, you don't want to be at full screen setting because you won't be able to see the link. Now, that's how it works. Now you know, and we'll do it 4 times tonight, so keep an eye out for the link. Now, as a matter of fact, let's kick off the show by giving you all a chance to earn 500 chips right now. Sound good? All right, go ahead and click the Claim Your Chips link, which should automatically appear on your screen below the video within the next couple of minutes. Now, like I mentioned, there's no need to refresh your page. It'll be up there for a few minutes, no worries. You'll have plenty of time to click it. And don't forget, you're also being entered into the drawing for the Toshiba Ultrabook when you claim those chips. So another reason to get those amazing chips, not just prizes, move up in ranking, but you want to get entered into that drawing. So I have one more big announcement before we get started with Mike. The holiday deal is coming November 30th. Now, for those of you who are new to the program, the holiday deal is our purchase program that allows members to purchase premium Intel products at amazing discounted prices. The rest of you, you already know you're crazy about it and you are ready. So make sure to take the required trainings so you're ready when it hits. Okay, so first up tonight, we have Mike Lavico, a field applications engineer with Intel for 10 years. He's going to share with us everything you need to know about the Intel technology and the new Ultrabook category and what the features and expectations will be on these new devices. So then we'll open up for questions so you can get even more details to help your customers understand what Ultrabooks have to offer. So get those questions ready. As soon as we're done with this little presentation, then you guys will have all the time to try to stump him with the Q&A. Okay, Mike, thanks for joining us.
Great. Hey, glad to be here, Ruby.
All right, so Mike, why don't you tell our audience a little bit more about your role here at Intel?
Sure. I'm the lucky guy that gets to take all the future Intel technologies and visit your headquarters to educate them on them. So that's what I do.
All right, in a nutshell, pretty cool. Okay, now before we start, I want to remind everybody that you can submit your questions, like I said, for Mike throughout the presentation. We'll hold on to them. They'll be in the queue. We'll be answering your questions at the end of the presentation. Remember, Mike will be taking your questions live, so stay connected to your keyboards. And as always, if you have questions about the program, you can email customer support, and we'll get back to you. All right, you ready, Mike?
I'm ready.
All right, take it away.
Okay. So let me start, Ruby, by answering the question, why Ultrabooks? The way people are communicating and computing is changing, right? We see that with smartphones, with tablets and such. And you know what? PCs need to change as well, right? Consumers are expecting portability, performance, responsiveness. They want their data. They want it immediately. And that's what we're doing with Ultrabooks. Now, right off the bat, you might notice, why the trademark? Well, with the trademark, it allows us to guarantee an experience. And that's really what we're trying to do, is make sure that when an end user gets an Ultrabook, they get an experience that's different. It's very responsive. It's very high performance. Your data's there when you need it there. Plus, we've added security. Now, a lot of consumers overlook security, but it is a huge problem out in the industry. One of the reasons why we bought McAfee is to close that security gap. So what you see here is some of the requirements that's included in Ultrabooks. We require a processor, a certain processor, core processors. We'll talk more about those details. Responsiveness capabilities, there's some specs in there to make sure that the system is very responsive. Security capabilities, including IPT and AT, and I'll tell you what those are in a minute, to make sure that the user is secure and their data secure and their system secure. Also the form factor, right? Very thin form factor, and those are requirements of Ultrabook to get that Ultrabook logo. And then finally, battery life. You know, we need to ensure a good portable use model for the consumer. Okay. So with that said, we announced Ultrabooks in May of this year, and as of today, there's 4 different Ultrabooks on the market. So here's a picture of those Ultrabooks, and you're going to learn a lot more about the Toshiba Ultrabook here in the next segment with Bill. The Ultrabooks, hopefully you've seen them out there. Very easy to spot, but just in case you're having problems, we've allowed OEMs to include different decals. So you see a picture on the right side of the slide there that shows some different decals. Likely the Ultrabooks will have one of those. Now it can still have the blue one, but if you see a white, a gray, or a black, it is an Ultrabook because it's the only way you're allowed to use those. Okay?
All right, well, thanks, Mike. Now, the Ultrabooks, I gotta say, they look really exciting, but is Intel really committed to Ultrabooks in the long run?
So, Ruby, we are so committed to Ultrabooks that we've actually changed our manufacturing process just for Ultrabooks.
Okay.
So, yes, we're very committed.
All right, all right. It sounds like Ultrabooks are here to stay, so that's good to hear. Okay, guys, now don't forget, be sure to have your questions ready in the Q&A segment later in the show. We'll get those questions out. Mike can shed some light on anything that's unclear. Before we go to the next part of your presentation, Mike, it's time for our first drawing of the evening. This is so exciting. Aren't you excited, Mike? Okay,
Yeah.
What do you think about the drawing and what we're offering here tonight?
It's a Toshiba Ultrabook. I mean, that's amazing. I think it's great.
All right, well, let's see if we can draw a winner then. Let's get this started. We'll be drawing one name at each of our drawings tonight. So remember, you need to be an Intel Retail Edge program member with up-to-date employment verification to win. Now, if your name is drawn, you'll win the Toshiba Portage Z835 Ultrabook featuring the Intel Core i3-2367M processor, the Mobile Intel HM65 Express chipset, and Mobile Intel HD graphics. Say that 3 times fast. It's not easy. Believe me. All right, let's see who our first winner is. You can drop a winner here. You know what? Because this is live TV and we just got all of your entries, you just claim your chips, we just went through the drawing. What happens is when you claim your chips, it's going to enter you into the drawing, and we have to wait for this to generate here. It's going to select somebody randomly, and then our winner will pop up. So as soon as this winner does pop up here, we'll let you guys know. That's the beauty of the live television. But in the meantime, you could just be really excited waiting, and you still have a chance to sit there. Cross your fingers in the meantime, and as soon as I get this winner, then I'll let you guys know. Okay, so why don't we move on then? Let's go on to the next part of your presentation.
Okay, great. So now I'm going to go into kind of a deeper discussion of what it means to be an Ultrabook. I don't expect you to explain this to your customer and even talk to your customer about these, but I wanted to make sure you, as a sales rep, understand what we're requiring the OEMs to do to get that Ultrabook name. So we start with the CPU. Ultrabooks will be core processors, either second generation or third for next year, generation core processors. And they're also what we call our ultra-low voltage processors, or the 17-watt TDP to get technical. And that gives you a great experience with the long battery life. So that's a requirement of Ultrabooks. The height of the platform, you can see the heights there for the various different screen sizes. This ensures that you're getting something that's very portable, very thin, very lightweight. And easy to move around. Battery life. Now we have a humble target of at least 5 hours. Most Ultrabooks are coming in higher than that, and you'll see that number grow over time. Now this responsiveness spec is kind of tricky, but it's key to ensure a certain experience. And this is a wake from S4 state in less than 7 seconds. So what does that mean? Well, if your system's in a powered off type of state, like a hibernate or something as you might know it, or otherwise known as S4, you'll be able to open the lid and be able to type within 7 seconds. So Hibernate, if you know Windows 7, can take 30 seconds, 40 seconds, a minute and a half on my computer. We're guaranteeing less than 7 seconds. Most are coming in around 2 to 3 seconds. Now, this requirement requires the OEMs to build these machines with some sort of solid-state device, either the full hard drive or something that's like a cache for a separate hard drive. That requirement translates to an experience that I'm going to show you coming up here very quickly. And then finally, security. Like I said, a lot of consumers don't understand that they need security until it's too late, right? They don't realize it until their identity is stolen, and then it becomes the #1 thing in their life. I'd be really surprised if you personally didn't know someone that has been a victim of identity theft. Almost everyone does. So what we've done is we've made a requirement for the OEMs to include Intel technologies into the Ultrabooks that give extra security. One of those is called Intel anti-theft technology. So the platforms are enabled with Intel anti-theft. It enables you to buy a service, and there's various service providers available that will use AT technology on your platform to either lock down your platform in the case of you leave it behind or it gets stolen. It can encrypt your hard drive for you, all done in the processor, in hardware, ultra secure. Another security technology called Intel Identity Protection Technology. This allows you to purchase items on the internet or go to various sites with an order of magnitude more security. I can actually give someone my username and password for a website, and they still won't be able to get in there because they don't have my laptop that has Intel Identity Protection Technology. And we'll show you more details on those coming up here. Ruby, did we get a winner on that Ultrabook yet?
Okay, so to give you a little update, here's what's happening. Live TV, you gotta love it. Besides, we just want to torture you guys so you guys can sit at home in anticipation and keep those fingers and toes crossed. If you got long hair braided, it's kind of like crossing your fingers. So what's happening is we're waiting for that to generate the random drawing. What we're going to do is we're going to give away the 2 back-to-back in the next drawing. So just make sure you guys keep claiming those chips. And when we're done with this presentation and we do the second one, we're going to pull them out back-to-back.
Very cool.
All right?
All right. So let's look a little bit more into the security technologies. I've called out identity protection technology and anti-theft technology. I've put the web links on here so you can go and explore. Identity protection technology is available today. You can go to VeriSign has a website, and you can learn all this through ipt.intel.com. But if you have a second-generation core product today, odds are you can use identity protection technology. It's not a requirement, but it is for Ultrabooks. So it ensures you have this capability. Sites like PayPal or eBay use this capability to make their sites more secure. Intel anti-theft technology, it's antitheft.intel.com. There are platforms out there today that aren't Ultrabooks that have this capability, but once again, it's a requirement for Ultrabooks to have that capability. So you can buy these services and protect your system, protect your data. So 2 great security technologies giving you that full complement. It's thin, it's responsive, it's performance, and it's secure. So that said, let's move to kind of the responsiveness aspect of Ultrabooks. What we're going to do is show you a video of 3 systems. They're 3 identical systems with the exception of one has an SSD drive, one has a hard drive only, and the other one has something we call Intel Smart Response technology. And Intel Smart Response technology uses this very small cache. It's like a 20 gig type of cache of an SSD drive, very, very fast, and it buffers your hard drive. And what we're going to do is show you these 3 systems all running through a script. Opens a program, does some manipulation, closes the program. And we do that for 7 or 8 different types of applications. So let's run that, and I'll tell you guys kind of what's happening. Okay. We can run the video? Oh, there it goes. Okay, so right off the bat, we start the script, and you can see the SSD drive and the Smart Response technology drive right away jumps into doing stuff. And your hard drive is lagging. It's very, you click on an application, And have you ever said to yourself, what are you doing, right? The computer, I scream at my own computer sometimes as it's trying to open applications. When you have a performance SSD like an Intel SSD or Intel Smart Response technology, they open quicker. Applications open quicker. Your data is quicker. Everything is quicker at your fingertips. And you can see in this example, the SSD drive and the Smart Response technology system went through the script at almost the same time. And the hard drive takes considerably longer. Now, an SSD-only system has benefits over the cache type of solution, right? With a cache, it has to be warmed. You have to open things a few times before it remembers that it should cache that information. A lot of data that I don't want you guys to communicate to your customers, but know that behind the scenes, we're using these technologies to make systems responsive, to make Ultrabooks the promise of very responsive, very high-performance systems.
Okay, very cool. Lots of great information. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Lots of great stuff for all of you guys to share with your customers as well. And I love that. You're like, what are you doing? I know we've all had that moment. Lots of great details on Ultrabooks. Now, is there a chance that you can give us some insight about the future of Ultrabooks? Do you have a crystal ball there you can look into? Or?
Sure. So this is just the start, right? We have 4 or 5 Ultrabooks out there today. And this is a long progression for Intel. We're making strides every year to add more and more performance, add more responsiveness, add more security capabilities. You're going to see different form factors. You're going to see screens that slide and twist and flip. And I mean, Ultrabooks are just now starting. And in the future, you're going to be amazed at what's coming down the road.
All right, all right. Well, Mike, thanks again.
Sure.
Now, I know that all of you at home are eager to ask your questions as well. So you want to get them, you want to stump them. I hope that you've been sending them in. Now, before we get to your questions, it's time again to earn some more chips. So look for the Claim Your Chips link in the next few minutes. And again, don't forget, you're also being entered into the drawing for the Toshiba Ultrabook. And speaking of the Toshiba Ultrabook, you know what we got in our first winner for the Ultrabook, and the winner is Henry from Vancouver, British Columbia. All right,
Henry.
Let's get some in-studio cheers here.
Yeah.
Woo! Yeah, we're making it exciting.
The envy
Even
of the block.
People behind the camera are clapping for you. Congratulations, that is so awesome. I hope the rest of you are all green with envy. Don't worry, we still have 3 more that we're giving away, so stick around. And let's see if we can get some stumpy with a few questions here. So let's see what questions we have from the audience. All right, and as a matter of fact, no, we actually got some that were actually sent in to us ahead of time, so let's get to those first before we do that. So I've got Jason from Houston, Texas, and he asks, Intel's tried ultra-thin laptops in the past. Why do you think Ultrabooks will be any different this time around?
Very astute. Yes, we have done ULV processors, and we've encouraged OEMs to make thin platforms, but there were no mandatory guidelines, or not guidelines, mandatory things they needed to do to be an ultra-thin platform. There was no promise of responsiveness. There was no promise for thinness. There was no promise for performance. And that's why we came up with Ultrabook and trademarked it, so we can control that experience and make sure the customer is getting something new. So this time around, it's different. It's not just ultra-thin, it's Ultrabooks, and they're here to stay.
Oh, wow, that was fancy. It even sounded like a slogan. I like that. All right. Next, we have Jonathan from Hayward, California. Pretty local here. Okay. Our Max Ultrabooks.
You know, you probably will never hear Apple call a MacBook or MacBook Air an Ultrabook. We'd Intel consider it an Ultrabook. It meets the requirements of Ultrabook. At that point, it's, you know, Apple will be Apple, and they'll do things their way. And, you know, not to say they won't call it an Ultrabook at some point, but for the most part, it is an Ultrabook.
Okay, all right. Pretty good. Now we have Miles from West Jordan, Utah. Do the Ultrabooks have USB 3.0?
It's up to the OEM whether or not they're going to include USB 3.0.
Okay.
You'll see that more next year as we integrate that capability into the processor. I want to say they all do, but I can't guarantee that.
Okay.
It is at the option of the OEM.
Ah, and we'll have an expert joining us next. And
I'm
he might
sure
be
he
able
can
to
tell
kind of
us.
talk
I'm
about
sure
this
he can
question.
tell us how Toshiba's doing it.
All right, all right. So now we have Martin from Beaufort, South Carolina. Are Ultrabooks upgradable?
Are Ultrabooks upgradable? Once again, it depends on the OEM, how they've configured the system, whether they have removable panels, whether they have panels that could be taken off and things to be replaced. The processors are soldered down to the motherboard, so those aren't going anywhere. But other options, maybe. You might be able to add memory or something to that effect. I doubt you're going to see any with discrete graphics where you can change a card or something like that.
Okay. And like the other one is probably going to vary as well between.
Well, sure, yeah. I mean, it's up to the OEM. We've left a lot of flexibility for the OEMs to do their own thing, right, to differentiate themselves. But we've given them some guidelines to ensure a certain experience.
Okay, good, good. All right, so we have Daniel from Portland, Oregon. Does the Ultrabook need to be near a Wi-Fi source to activate anti-theft technology? No. There's a couple different mechanisms. I'm actually the anti-theft expert. We could spend an hour just on that. But there's actually a couple different mechanisms for anti-theft. There's some timeout timers. So even if you don't connect to the internet and your system to be reported that it's stolen and that it should shut down, as an example, there's a timer that you set as a user that allows it to say after 4 days, if I don't go on the internet, lock down. Okay.
So there's a couple different mechanisms on anti-theft that even if you don't go back on the internet to get that poison pill, in essence, that says, hey, I'm stolen, there's still mechanisms in place that can shut down that system.
Okay, well, that's nice to know. All right, so let's see. We have Sean from Mississauga, Ontario. So sorry, Sean, if I'm messing up your name. Are there battery life requirements for Ultrabooks?
Yeah, so today it's no less than 5 hours based on Mobile Mark 2007. I can't remember. There's 3 different use models, but it's one of those 3. Yes, there is a guarantee of a certain battery life based on Mobile Mark 2007 benchmark. Today it's 5 hours. It's going to grow from there.
Okay, all right. And it looks like we have a repeat user here. Let's see, Miles from West Jordan, Utah. You're getting those questions in. Good job. What kind of power does Ultrabooks have for gaming?
So you're not going to be playing Modern Warfare 3, and you're not going to be playing Battlefield 3, which is what I'm currently playing. However, it does use Intel HD 3000 graphics, which is our best integrated graphics. And you can play a lot of the mainstream games, and it plays really well. So we've put the best we can in there for integrated graphics. And can you game? Well, it depends on the game that you're playing.
Okay.
But not very much different at all from a standard laptop using Intel HD 3000 graphics.
Okay.
Very
but
similar.
The hardcore gamers, and that's
hardcore gamers. This
is
is
still
not.
Going to be going
yeah,
to.
This is not for the real hardcore first-person shooter type games.
But don't
Absolutely
worry, because
not.
we have something for that too, right? Okay, so we have Diego from Woodside, New York. Is touch going to be incorporated into Ultrabooks?
Touch is not a requirement of Ultrabooks. The OEMs can absolutely add that. We see that Microsoft's coming out with Windows 8. They have a preview that's available on the web. And it's very much centered around touch. I expect to see a lot more touch-type systems in that time frame. But it's not a requirement, but I'm sure you're going to see a lot of touch type of Ultrabooks very shortly.
Okay, all right. So William from Williamsport, Pennsylvania, home of the Little League World Series. Random facts of knowledge.
Wow.
Will the technology be used in tablet forms?
So Ultrabook is defined with a keyboard. Can you have an Ultrabook that turns into a tablet? Absolutely. And I expect you'll see those as we go into 2012. Not a requirement, but not a requirement to be a tablet transformer type of thing, but it does have to have a keyboard.
Okay, all right. From one of our savvy viewers, Justin from Jacksonville, Florida, where does the Z come from in Z height?
Great. So go back to school. And go back to your school days. Sorry, not to insult you. you have your X, Y coordinates, and then Z is vertical. So typically when you do a three-dimensional chart, X is horizontal, Y is vertical, and then Z is the depth. And that's what we're doing. The depth in this case is up. So yeah, that's where Z height comes from, is from the, God, what's the coordinate plane called? I should know that. Anyway.
Well, if you do want to really
Cartesian
know.
coordinate plane.
Oh, of course.
At
Of course
I
he
think
knows
it is.
If he's wrong, you can catch him on his blog and give him a hard
that'd be
time
great.
there. Yeah. Okay. We have Steve from Troutdale, Oregon. Will the i7 Ultrabooks have hyperthreading?
Yeah. So yes, all of the i7 Ultrabooks have hyperthreading enabled. Now the Ultrabooks, just to go into the dirt for a minute here, the ULV processors, the i7s, are not quad core. They're 2-core with hyperthreading, so you get 4 threads running. So it's a little bit different than the standard volt parts, but the turbo boost that we've included on there makes up for a lot of that. So yes, they all have it, but it won't show up as an 8-core system. It'll show up as kind of a 4-core system when you do the control alt delete and bring up the task manager.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to go back to some of our pre-sent in questions. We want to get them as well. So we have Ranjit from Detroit, Michigan. He's wondering, why are Ultrabooks so expensive as compared to other laptops?
Yeah, so you'll notice that the prices are definitely more expensive for Ultrabooks, and it's because to make them this thin with the performance that they have, it takes exotic materials. I mean, from the battery packs are made with special prismatic batteries, and the chassis are made of carbon fiber or magnesium or some other unobtainium type of alloy. So there's lots of added cost just in the manufacturing of these. The requirement for the responsiveness. A solid state drive is much more expensive than a standard hard drive. So to get that experience that we're looking for, definite added cost.
Okay, all right. So let's go back to the live questions. We have Sean from Savannah, Georgia. What OEM are out now?
So the OEMs that are out today are Toshiba, ASUS, Acer, and Lenovo. They all have announced products. If you go on the internet, you can find reviews on all of these. Some great ones, video reviews and comparison reviews and everything else. So those are the 4 that have been announced, and they're available on the market today.
Okay. And speaking of, like you mentioned, we have Toshiba here today. So if you have some of those really specific questions, hold on to them. You can harass them later, okay? Okay, we have Matthew from Tip City, Ohio. Will there be an Extreme Ultrabook?
So the Extreme Edition processor is a standard volt or higher power processor. And you won't see that in an Ultrabook because the requirement for Ultrabooks is an ultra-low voltage processor. So no, you won't see an Extreme Edition Ultrabook. Okay.
All right. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
All right. I hope you guys all got all those questions out of the way. And if you have more, don't forget, we can find you where?
You can find me on the blog on IRAP.
All right. Well, there you go. That's where you can send all the other questions if you did have some that didn't get answered, because we have a lot of them coming in. So before we introduce our next guest, it's time to find out who our next drawing winner is. And again, here's what you can win. The Toshiba Portage Z835 Ultrabook featuring the Intel Core i3-2367M processor, the mobile Intel HM65 Express chipset, and mobile Intel HD graphics. Amazing prize. And our next winner is Jennifer from Bermuda Run, North Carolina. All right, Jennifer, good job. I love it when the ladies get in there. Good job. Congratulations. Amazing. You're going to love your prize. And speaking of the Toshiba, that was our second drawing. We have 2 more, but next we're going to have the Toshiba here talking with us. So we'll have more chip opportunities coming up. And next, our guest is Bill Moreau from Toshiba, and Bill is a National Sales Training Manager at Toshiba. He'll be sharing with us Toshiba's Ultrabook and all the features and benefits this new device has to offer. So, Bill, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself first?
Sure, absolutely. Well, like I say, my name is Bill Monroe, and I've been with Toshiba for nearly 14 years now. Okay. Before I came over to Toshiba, I actually used to work for CompUSA way back in the mid-90s selling laptops. And back then, I wanted to work for this company because I love the products. They made some great products, made it easy for me to sell and stand behind, and that's why I still like working for the company today. I get to play with all these great products and talk about them, and it's awesome.
Pretty cool. And we're giving some away. Now,
We
how
are.
exciting is that for you?
That's really exciting.
Okay, so once again, it's time to earn more chips. So look for the Claim Your Chips link in the next few minutes. Don't forget, you're also being entered into the drawing for the Toshiba Ultrabook. You don't have to be in full screen. As a matter of fact, you don't want to be, or you won't see it, and you don't have to hit refresh. So make sure you guys hit the Claim Your Chips link so you guys can be entered into the drawing, okay? So why don't you tell us a little bit about this amazing prize that they're winning, the Toshiba's new Ultrabook?
Absolutely. So what I want to talk about today, what we're going to talk about today is this new Ultrabook. And we've done a lot of really great things. Obviously, it's nice and slim. We've also done some really nice things from a design perspective that's actually going to really help out in the retail store. Not only does it look good, but we've got this nice textured finish on there, which also helps you do things like, minimize the fingerprints that sometimes accumulate on some of your displays. So, even doing some of the little things like that to give you a great product that's going to work out for you. So before I get in and talk a little bit more detail about the product itself, what I want to do is talk a little bit more about the company, because a lot of our history and a lot of our track record is why we're able to offer a product like this today. Now, we actually got our start back in 1875 bringing Western telegraph technology to Japan. That means we've been in the electronics business longer than there's been an electronics business. And throughout that more than 130 years, our focus has always been on research and development and on engineering, next generation technologies. So what that means is we're putting 5 to 7% of our revenue back into R&D every year. That's why your customers might not have seen as many Toshiba commercials on TV as they might from some other folks. It's because of that focus on R&D, that focus on investment. It's led us to do some pretty impressive things, including inventing the laptop computer. In fact, Toshiba had the world's first laptop computer back in 1985. And throughout the ensuing years, we've continued to lead in the laptop computer industry. We're the first to put a 286 in a portable, first to do a 386, a 486, and on. The reason I like to point this out, and the reason you can talk to your customers about this, is because when they are choosing a computer and they're choosing to spend their money on it, they want to be confident in the brand that they're buying. And Toshiba has that background. We have a great reputation for durability and reliability because we know this stuff so well. And we know this stuff so well because we've developed and introduced most of the core technologies that make mobile computing possible today. So obviously that's some great information to have, and we have some more on our website. But I want to make sure you have some additional resources to help you sell Toshiba Ultrabooks and Toshiba products. Obviously, our primary website is at us.toshiba.com. That's where your customers can go and find all sorts of information about Toshiba products. The key link on that page I want to point out for you is the one down there at the bottom at support.toshiba.com. And I'm going to mention that again later. But when your customers are looking for detailed product information, or you need to find details about a Toshiba product their customer might tell you one of your competitors has, or you want to look up something that's 10 years old to find out if you can actually use it in Antarctica, you can look up the information there. But obviously, if you want to engage more with Toshiba, Toshiba's social networking options are the way to do it. You can find us on Facebook at Toshiba US. You can find all of our commercials as well as insider reviews and more technology information on our YouTube channel at Toshiba US. For those of you who are active in the Twitter community, you can follow us on Toshiba USA, and you can also reach out to me directly at Toshiba_Bill. The really exciting stuff, though, is how you can win more stuff. After you've won your Ultrabook and done all of your Intel training on Retail Edge, hop on over to cyberscholar.com/Toshiba. This is where you can learn all about the Toshiba products. We have training information on there that's going to cover laptops, it's going to cover TVs, and more. It's going to offer everything from technology training to product training to even sales skills training, such as how to qualify customers. And we're offering some fantastic prizes, including video cameras, TVs, Blu-ray players, and more. So definitely be sure to check that out. And of course, for those of you who are at Best Buy, we do have an active presence on Best Buy's Learning Lounge as well, where you'll be able to find all of that content and all of those great prizes there as well. And of course, I did mention support.toshiba. This is just so important for any of your customers who are looking for drivers, product manuals, or anything like that in store. We also have forums, and you'll see the link down there on the bottom of that slide. And the forums are going to be a great resource for any of those questions that get slightly beyond the tech support realm. And you want to learn more how customers are using the products, that is going to be a fantastic resource for you to explore. So let's talk about the Portage Z835, the world's lightest 13-inch Ultrabook. we're able to do this because we have that background of engineering, and there's so much engineering and technology that goes into these products. One of the key things about this product is we want to make sure you also have the features and connections you need to use, because it doesn't matter how thin or light a laptop is if it's not going to let you do the work that you need to get done. And we've managed to do this with making it 20% lighter than what most people think of as one of the lightest laptops in the business. We're featuring, obviously, the second generation Intel Core processors. We've got that nice size screen. We've got the magnesium alloy chassis, which I'll talk more about in just a moment. We have that memory card slot on there, so your customer can easily take that memory card right out of their digital camera, pop it into their laptop, and copy those pictures over or share those other files. We've got plenty of options for putting your video out, whether that's going to be through HDMI or RGB. And of course, I know this question came up before, we do feature USB 3.0 on the Toshiba Portage Z835. So as we take a little bit closer look at some of the ports on here, and this is one of the things that really helps this stand out from the competition, is that we do have those ports and we do have those connections for your customer. You'll find everything from a 1.3 megapixel webcam, higher resolution than most retail laptops you'll find on the shelf. The physical Ethernet port, because sometimes Wi-Fi just isn't there as much as we'd like it to be. You've got 3 USB ports, one of which is USB 3.0, and one of the other ones features Toshiba's Sleep and Charge technology to help you more easily recharge your devices. You've got your video ports, your audio ports, all of that right on there. Again, fit into that nice, slim design. So how are we able to do that and keep those products protected? Well, one of the key things is that this is not made of the plastic you'll find on many laptops. It has a magnesium alloy casing with a honeycomb rib structure. We chose magnesium because it's lighter than a lot of the other materials that are out there, but still gives us the strength needed to protect the equipment inside. We use a honeycomb rib structure to minimize the weight while maximizing the strength. And that's actually the same technology that's used on the International Space Station, where again, weight and strength are both highly critical functions. And we've also done a lot of analysis. When we talk about making the case and putting those pillars in there in the rib structure, it's because not only do we need to protect it from the outside, but one of the ways you'll find people carrying a laptop is by actually holding it like this, holding it in that one hand. That puts huge amounts of stress in this one area of the laptop, and that's where you're going to need, one of the things you're going to need to do to help protect that. So in addition to that and making it stronger with that honeycomb structure, we also do a lot of other testing. We do drop tests on the design to make sure that it's still going to boot up after it's been dropped. We have a spill-resistant keyboard in there. We even do a lot of pressure testing on the lid itself, because we know that your customers are going to be stuffing their laptop bag to probably about 125% of capacity, and we want to make sure there's nothing pounding through that. So we have to protect it that way. Our testing goes beyond those specifics to more general testing, what we call HALT, or highly accelerated life testing. Here what we do is we subject the machine to simulations of years of use to make sure that that design is going to hold up. We subject it to freezing cold. We subject it to the drops. We subject it to random vibrations, where we actually put it under extensive vibrations just to make sure everything is going to hold together in a way that your customers are likely never to encounter. When we talked about that spill-resistant keyboard before, this is very important because, of course, it's not like your customers are ever using beverages right next to their laptop. But what we wanted to do is make sure that if your customers have a spill in there, they've got several extra minutes to actually save their work and shut down. So it's about protecting their data and minimizing repair costs. On top of that, we've also made that a backlit keyboard, because I know a lot of retailers, retail salespeople really tell us that their customers are asking for backlit keyboards. Here you've got it. So you can easily type in the dark, whether that's on an airplane or on a couch sitting next to your significant other dozing in front of the TV. We've also done some additional things with battery charging. Now, one of the things many of your customers may not realize is that lithium-ion batteries are like ink cartridges. They're consumable devices. And after a certain number of charges, they're not going to last as long. So what we did was we took our battery and decided to give you a new option. If your customer normally runs their battery all the way down and then recharges it and they're always away from power, they'll want to stick with the normal charge mode. But if your customer is usually plugged in, or maybe they're only running their battery down to about 20% of its limit, they can use the Eco Charge mode. And when they use this charge mode, they'll be able to extend the number of cycles that battery is good for, extending the life of that battery, which is great. Again, it's about giving the customer those options. Of course, obviously, starting quickly is very important with Ultrabooks, which is why we have the high start mode in addition to the Intel Rapid Start technology. And this is about making it start up even further, giving you that additional sort of hybrid between shutdown and hibernation, a lower power state that even lets it pull up while still giving you the speed and battery life savings. And of course, the Intel Rapid Start technology is part of the Ultrabooks, which really gives us that fast boot up and startup time. When we take a quick look at the actual specs, you'll see again we've got that Core i3 processor. We've got plenty of RAM in there with 4 gigs. If you want to go to 6 gigs, you can. We've got a 128 gig solid-state hard drive in there. We've got a battery life rating that exceeds 8 hours, well beyond the minimum for an Ultrabook. And we've got that sub 2.5 pound weight. So we've really put a lot of effort into building on what we're able to do with our engineering and research and development, taking all of that expertise to build the world's lightest 13.3-inch laptop with some really powerful specs to really give your customer a great solution for the customer who absolutely needs to be mobile.
Wow, lots of great information, Bill. Thank you so
You're welcome.
much. Nice little history there on Toshiba, not to mention some amazing features and specs on the Ultrabook that they're going to be winning here tonight. Very good. Okay, so before we take your questions, it's time again to find out who our third drawing winner is. So it is time to look for the name now. Would you like to help me? Since this is your baby, would you like to give me a drum roll, maybe?
All right.
Roll.
Keep in mind, I have all the rhythm of a cabbage.
And it is Justin from Milpitas, California. Congratulations,
Woo-hoo!
Justin. Woo-hoo. All right, that is amazing. Yeah, I love that. Applause. Applause from all our amazing camera ops, all right? Remember, we have one more drawing, everybody, so don't give up. We have more chip earning opportunities coming up, which is a way that you will get entered into the drawing at the end of the webcast, so stay with us. Lots of great stuff still to come. All right, Bill, so let's see what questions we have from the audience. If they can come up with any that weren't covered in that presentation, which was really thorough, I'm going to be really impressed.
I'm never surprised by what retail salespeople come up with.
Our sales professionals are good, though. They're going to come up with
They
some
are.
good ones. You ready for them all?
I hope so.
All right, okay, here we go. We've got Jeremy from Englewood, Florida. What special design implementations have been utilized to manage heat in the Ultrabook form factor? I told you they were good.
Those are very good questions. Well, we've done a couple of things in order to manage heat. For one thing, running with the lower voltage processors really helps us from minimizing the heat generation to begin with, and that is a big one. The other nice thing is that the case material with a magnesium alloy chassis, as opposed to the traditional plastic, that actually does a better job of dissipating the heat from a processor, essentially turning the entire computer into a heat sink, which again helps you dissipate that as well. And then of course we do include the fan on there. Now what we've done with our technologies, we're actually designed so we're actually pulling, instead of pulling heat out, we actually pull cooler air in to move that across the heat generating components so that we can get the heat out through the vents on the machine.
All right, very good. So we've got Justin from Jacksonville, Florida. What is the screen resolution of the Ultrabook?
It is 1368 by 766, or I may have 1366 by 768. So that's one of the great things about this, is that is a 720p display. That is a nice high-resolution display. It's the resolution you're used to seeing on most laptops. And that's actually one of the other things that helps an Ultrabook stand apart from, previous generation netbooks, which always sacrifice screen real estate. With this, you're getting the same screen real estate you get on most 13, 14, or even 15.6-inch widescreen laptop displays.
Okay. Now we've got Joshua here from Columbus, Ohio. He wants to get down, to just like flat out, I want this. What is the MSRP of the Z835?
I believe we're going to see it hitting the shelves at $899.
Okay. All right. So we're going to take a little pause in the Q&A because
Fantastic.
it is time for another chip moment. So everybody, let's take a little break here. Look for the Claim Your Chips link in the next few minutes. Don't forget, you're also being entered into tonight's drawing for the Toshiba Ultrabook. You just heard all about it. It's amazing. You don't want to miss out. So click on that Claim Your Chips link, get entered into the drawing, and we'll find out at the end who our lucky winner is. So, ready for more questions?
I'm ready.
All right, we're going to keep them going. Hans from Westmont, Illinois wants to know what precautions have been taken against fire hazard, considering the amount of magnesium used to create these Ultrabooks.
Okay, well, the magnesium alloy in here isn't like the strips of magnesium we used to use in chemistry class, which was always an awesome experiment to do. The alloy and the other materials that are built in here are not, flammable, and they don't have the issues that you encounter if you just use the straight up metal. It's not a pure magnesium; it is an alloy, which gives us the durability, gives us the strength, gives us the integrity, and of course, obviously, makes for a very safe machine.
Okay, all right. So we've got Jonathan from Hayward, California. Does the Toshiba Ultrabook include a recovery disk? If not, why not?
It's a great question. You are not going to find a recovery disk in here for two reasons. Number one, there's no optical drive in this laptop. So that would make it a little bit more challenging to do that. Number two, we actually moved away from including recovery disks in the laptops probably about a year or 2 years ago. Again, it's about helping to drive down costs for your customers so your customers can spend less on the laptop and more on the accessories and more on the service plans. If your customer wants to do a recovery, or you want to recover the machine after, thousands of people have played with it on the retail floor throughout the day, what you can do is you can power it all the way down, hold down the 0 button, power it up, and that will launch you into Toshiba's hard drive-based recovery mode, which can wipe out all of the existing data and replace it with the original factory image. Other laptops, which include optical drives, and I believe we might have the application on here, I would have to double check, actually let you go ahead, have an application on there so you can even create your own recovery disks using Toshiba's Recovery Disk Creator. On this one, obviously, you would need to plug in an external optical drive for that.
Oh, that's pretty cool to know. All right. Let's see, we've got William from Timonium, Maryland. I noticed on the presentation, good for you for paying attention, something called sleep and music. What is that?
Sleep and music is a function that we have on a number of our laptops. Actually, I have to double check the presentation because I don't believe we have that function on this machine.
Okay.
We'll double check on that. You'll find it on other laptops in the retail store that actually lets you leave the laptop completely turned off and still play your MP3 player through the laptop speakers.
And you did mention that you tweet, so if you guys want to bother him, you can always find him on his Twitter, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
At Toshiba_Bill.
There you go. Okay, we've got Juwan from London, Ontario. Are you guys offering i5 or i7?
We are not offering i5 or i7 in the retail versions at this time. If you look at our some of our corporate sales products, you'll find some i5s and i7s in a similar form factor, but those are not actually Ultrabooks. There are a couple of things about those particular configurations that take them out of the Ultrabook range. Now, you mentioned he was in London, Ontario. So in Canada, you might find different offerings as well. The Portage Z835 P330 is a configuration specifically for the U.S. Toshiba Canada may be doing different offerings. And then, of course, next year, we've got all sorts of exciting things coming up in terms of products and processors. So today, the only Ultrabook is going to be the Core i3.
Okay, well, they may not be offering it there, but you can certainly win it there because we still have one more opportunity to win it. So we've got one of our techies here, Richard from Glen Ellen, Illinois. Is the SSD card soldered onto the motherboard or is it replaceable?
The SSD card slot is built into the system. It's not replaceable. If you're talking about the solid-state drive, we don't consider the SSD drive there to be a user replaceable item. One of the differences between this and traditional laptops is that as we make it slimmer, we go to the unified design, which again minimizes weight, helps us strengthen out the power, but we don't have an easily accessible hard drive position in there.
Okay. Let's see, we've got Zachary from Orlando, Florida. Is the 128GB SSD included in the Z835, making use of Intel's, oh Lord, this is a long question, Intel's SATA 3.0 6GB port?
That's an excellent question, and I don't know, but we'll find that out for you.
Okay, again, you can tweet him, or you know what, you can bother Mike Lavico and they'll get together and they'll get you some kind of
Absolutely.
question. Okay, we've got Jennifer Edison from Edison, New Jersey. Will the hard drive be upgradable?
You know, again, at this point, we don't consider the hard drive in the Ultrabook to necessarily be an upgradable component. Really, the only thing we're positioning this as being upgradable is the RAM. The machine comes with 4 gigs It actually has 2 gigs that are soldered onto the motherboard, and then there's an open slot, there's a slot that has an additional 2 gig module in there. You could replace that 2 gig module with a 4 to take you to a total of 6. But really, that's the only part of this that we actually consider to be upgradable. Now, one of the things with that is that we do have, obviously, we do make plenty of external portable USB hard drives, which are a great choice. The USB 3.0 port means you can access that data quickly. And the more mobile you are, the more likely you are to be relying on cloud storage. And of course, as long as you can connect to a hotspot or connect to the internet, so much more of your data is going to be stored on the cloud. And that's actually one of the things that we're seeing. We're seeing, obviously in traditional laptops, you can see, hard drives in excess of terabytes. But for the ultra mobile user, and for more and more users who are migrating more of their stuff to the cloud, having a ton of local storage is not necessarily as important. So that's going to be important when you're qualifying your customer and making sure that the laptop's going to be a right fit for them. Understand how much data they're going to want to store with them. We'd love to put a much bigger solid-state hard drive in here, and I would love to sell this for $2,000, but we're not doing that.
Okay, all right, let's see. Well, I think we may have mentioned some of this in the presentation, but let's see. Gary from Rapid City, South Dakota wants to know, for the Portage Z835, how easy will it be to replace the battery or to get an extended battery?
Okay, that's a great question. The battery in here is, again, unlike traditional laptops, the battery in here is not going to be user replaceable like it is in most other products. So if you want to replace the battery in this product, you would need to actually take it to a Toshiba service center, and they can certainly take care of that. In terms of an extended battery, we already have more than 8 hours of battery life rating on here, with a lightweight power supply. So your best bet is to really rely on that existing 8 hours of battery life that's on there.
Okay. Now, speaking of the 8 hours of battery life, Amit from Nanaimo, British Columbia, is asking, is the battery life of 8 hours, is it when you're watching movies or using Flash?
That battery life is based on the MobileMark productivity test. And actually, I would, if you go to the MobileMark website at, I believe it is BAPCO, BAPCO, they have all sorts of details that tell you exactly what they're testing. But that testing is all about, it's about office use, it's about surfing the web, it's about, word processing, it's about spreadsheets, it's about doing a lot of these productivity types of things.
Okay. So let's see. We've got Caesar from Peekskill, New York. Will the Toshiba Ultrabook be compatible with the next version of Windows?
Until Windows 8 comes out, you don't want to, say that, guarantee anything. Historically, when new versions of the operating system have come out, laptops within the last year, 2 years, sometimes even longer, have been compatible with that. The nice thing is we are using, the Core i3. We are using a lot of these standard components. So, I see no reason why this would not be Windows 8 compatible once that comes out. But again, until, and of course, we've always done that when Windows 7 came out. Products going back several years were, a couple of years were still compatible. Windows Vista, again, same thing. Windows 9, Windows XP, Windows 98, again, it's the same thing. So historically, I would certainly expect it to. Okay,
now this is going to be our last question for you. Dave from Winnipeg, Manitoba. Actually, he writes, not a question, ... But that Ultrabook looks amazing! Exclamation points
awesome.
And a happy face.
Awesome.
Okay, thanks so much.
We're rocking the Canadians this tonight.
All right. Thanks so much. Great Q&A.
Oh, thank you.
Lots of great information. I know you guys have more questions. Remember, you guys can always hit him up on his Twitter, and you guys had a lot more questions in coming from Mike Lavico. So, he's our Intel guru. You guys can hit him up on the blog. So he loves to get those questions answered, and I saw a lot of them still waiting there. So make sure you guys can still get them answered. So I know you members have been really enjoying learning all about the Toshiba has to offer. And speaking of it, thanks for having me. And you know what? We have one more opportunity now. We have our very last winner. We have our very last winner from the Toshiba Ultrabook, and that is going to be, are we ready for that now? Because we're in a different spot now. Oh, yes. All right, let's go for the winner. Our last winner from the drawing is, drum roll, everybody, Jerry from Austin, Texas.
That's awesome.
Let's get some clapping in here. I I love that. I think we should do that every show. Applause in the studio. I wish that you guys at home could see it. Congratulations, Jared. We hope you've picked up a few things. We hope that all of you at home have picked up a few things that will help you next time you have a customer interested in the new Ultrabook devices. And remember, the holiday deal is coming, so take the required trainings and watch for the product details coming soon. You don't want to miss out on that opportunity. Thanks for joining us, everybody, and we'll see you again very soon. Good night.